How's it going, guys? It's Eclipse here, and today's video looks at the top 5 beginner tanks you will want within World of Tanks console. So we're going to have a look at the 5 tanks that I would recommend to new players, and they should be pretty easy for you to actually get and to grind towards, because most of them have a really nice starting line, and so you'll be able to actually get to the tank that is actually pretty good at the end of it as well. So that's that's what I'm thinking when I'm actually choosing these tanks. So first one, I think we'll get straight into it. It is the KV1. Now this is a tier 5 heavy tank that is pretty much one of the best heavy tanks in like tier for tier, I would say, just because it has so many good attributes as a heavy tank. It works so well at tier 5, and you can have some really fantastic games when you decide to play in it. This thing is great for teaching you about angling your armor. So that is where, you angle like this, and it increases the effective armor of your tank, so you will bounce more shots and therefore survive the battle longer. It also has this really good, nice gun that you can put on it, which basically means that you'll be able to actually outtrade your opponents fairly easily. Now, especially if you have all of the equipment that improves your accuracy, so things like a gun stabilizer will be really, really good if you want to use the 122mm on this tank. It has 450 damage, which is amazing. Let's not beat around the bush. That is absolutely fantastic. At tier 5, you can basically pummel your way through all of the opponents that you'll be coming up against. Yeah, it's an absolutely fantastic tank. One that I can't really recommend enough. And certainly the tanks that lead off of it are really, really fun ones that you enjoy playing as well. So, you can always use the big gun, or you can use a smaller gun. Kind of gives you that mobility or flexibility to choose the actual kind of way you want to play. If you want to play more aggressively with some good accuracy on your gun compared to this 122mm, then you can do that. But if you want more of a pack-a-punch and you're kind of looking towards getting tanks like the Su-152 and that line to go up to the high alpha Russian or Soviet TDs in the game, then this tank will certainly be very, very good for you. And this one is definitely one that many, many people recommend as a starting tank within World of Tanks, just because it is so good and it can weather the storm. It has somewhat armor at tier 5, and yeah, it can play up against those tier 7s every now and again when you need to. So really, really good tank. Certainly one I would recommend for new players. Our next tank within the list is the T3485. Now this is a tier 6 Soviet/Russian tank that you'll be able to play. It doesn't take a long time to be able to get to tier 6, and when you do, boy does this tank really do something. It is absolutely crazy. Has great lines that come off of it. So if we look in the tech tree, at the T3485, you can move up the Russian medium tank line, whereby you can get the Object 140, a fantastic medium tank, and the T62A, which has one of the highest DPM or damage per minute. So you can put out shots very, very quickly, and you can have the highest damage done in a minute if you manage to penetrate all of your shots within the game. This thing is absolutely fantastic. The T3485 is exactly the same. Very, very good. You can get an 85mm on the gun, which means you can have a superb amount of damage for its tier. Very, very good one. Certainly one I would recommend to you guys thinking about playing the Russian medium tank line. And basically this is one of the best starting lines, if not the best one, in terms of trying to get further on in the tech tree and just basically perform better. Yeah. Definitely a tank I would recommend, and obviously the Russian mediums after are really, really good as well for learning the game, learning when to move, and angling slightly, because some of them have a little bit of armor because Soviet bias. But yeah, really, really good tanks to have at the beginning when you start off. Our third tank then is the T29. This is the tier 7 American heavy tank. This one is one we featured recently within one of our videos on the channel that you can always go and have a look at after this one if you want to check out a little bit more about the tank. But basically this is one of the best tier 7 heavies within the game. It's absolutely, and I mean absolutely, so much fun to play. This thing is really, really good. Can't really say enough about it. It is just amazing. This top gun, 320 alpha damage, superb accuracy for a heavy tank at this tier. You can deal your damage very, very quickly. You have a good DPM. You've got fairly okay mobility, an amazing turret on this thing, which means you can go hold down. You can learn about maintaining like your lower plate and your upper plate basically hidden, making sure that you use ridge lines, using gun depression mechanic, which is where, you basically make your armor stronger by only showing like an up look at your hull or turret armor. Yeah, this thing can really teach you a lot about the game, and you'll learn how to kind of play these heavy tanks and that sort of thing, and it's a superb one to start off with. Out of them all, yeah, definitely one I would recommend. Obviously, let me know your comments in the comment section down below. As a new player, did you enjoy playing it? If you're more of an experienced player now, was one of these tanks one of the first lines that you went down? But certainly, these are a first of my few. I think the first tier 10 I had was looking at going towards the E5. It was maybe my second tier 10. This one has an amazing tech tree afterwards as well. You have tanks like the T32, you also have the M103 and the E5, which are all really fun tanks to play, which can't be said for many heavy tanks within World of Tanks console, at least, because they're just a bit lackluster, I would say, when it comes to accuracy and stuff like that. But the American ones are certainly biased on this game. Fantastic ones. And of course, the M6 is fantastic as well. And if you really want to, you could even go the M4A3E2 Sherman, which allows you to actually go up to the M48A5 Patton, which is another really, really good tank. So yeah, the tech tree line leading up to it is really, really good as well. So if you haven't already, T29 would be my pick as well for you to actually go towards, and that kind of line up to tier 10. Now, if you are thinking about going down a light tank line, there is none other than the French light tanks for me, in terms of as a new and beginner player looking to actually play light tanks. This is probably the best and easiest line that you'll ever play in terms of light tanks. From tier 5 onwards, they are absolutely fantastic. There's no real bad tanks within there. I mean, maybe, looking at the tier 4 and the tier 3, they're not particularly amazing, but you're only there for about 20 or 30 games maximum when you're going towards getting the next tanks. The AMX EOC is a fun one. They all give you the opportunity to kind of get your own back against some of the opponents that decide to YOLO you, because they have an auto-loader mechanic, and it is a great way to introduce yourself to the auto-loading mechanic, which is basically where you have multiple shots within a clip. It takes a long time to reload, but when you are reloaded, you can deal significantly higher damage than any single shot gun within the game. And this is one of the ways I learned autoloaders, to be honest with you. It was a great way to kind of learn that. You've got loads of lines that you can go off to at tier 10, so you can go up to the AMX 1390 from the batch at 12T. You've got the AMX 30 and the batch at 25T AP, all of which have some really nice benefits to them. The AMX 13105 is a good one, and the batch at 25T is a really good one. And then you have the AMX 30B, which it's an okay medium tank, but it's nothing extraordinary at tier 10. Yeah, a really great line to go down, and the AMX 12T is where it all really begins. And so I would recommend getting your way up to tier 6 in the French light tank line and learning how to play them. You can definitely kind of, when you would get punished in another light tank, something like an MT25, you can kind of negate that punishment, because you can output a lot more damage within that period of time as you kind of try and escape and get away with some of the bad situations you make. So it's a bit more forgiving, I would say, so long as you know that you should only ever engage a target with the AMX 12T after you kind of have reloaded. Don't go in before you reloaded unless you're about to reload as you're going in, if that makes sense. So make sure you think about that with the autoloaders. That's my only warning with these tanks, and they are fantastic if you play them right. And I'm pretty sure I've got some videos of these tanks on my channel somewhere from a long time ago. And the fifth and final tank on this list is the Challenger, the Tier 7 British tank destroyer within World of Tanks console. This thing is amazing. I think it's really, really underrated, to be honest with you. It's absolutely fantastic. Basically, what this tank offers is a super high DPM tank. It has really, really good mobility. It actually has somewhat turret armor. I know it sounds really silly, but sometimes you can bounce off your turret. It is otherwise a pretty glass cannon tank destroyer, but what is really, really good about the Challenger is it's got great concealment, which means you can stay undetected. You can learn about the spotting mechanics within World of Tanks, which means you are going to learn them quicker. You're going to be putting yourselves in situations where you might not with some things like heavy tanks, where I think a lot of people go wrong going straight towards heavy tanks as their first tanks within the game. Sometimes it is good if you're playing kind of medium and heavy kind of heavy tanks, if that makes sense. Things like the T29, or if you just have a really good, superb heavy like the KV1. But the Challenger will offer you some great benefits in terms of learning those spotting mechanics that you can utilize in a lot of the other classes within the game, not only in tank destroyers, but in all of the other ones. So brilliant for everyone within the game. Other than that, I hope you did enjoy this top 5 guide video for World of Tanks console. Hope you did enjoy. If you did, hit that like button and subscribe for more content. There will be videos on screen now that you can click to view a similar sort of tank guides and reviews of various different tanks and ones you should pick up on World of Tanks console. Other than that, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye.